Whenever my students would engage me in a discussion about God, I used to dread it as a biology teacher who's responsible for teaching a branch of an empirical science. I could not find a way to correctly engage in a discussion about God. Today, I have a different stand. I think I know exactly how to take on a discussion about God. Let's discuss about God. Now, first of all, I would establish that God is not a person or a thing. Therefore, we cannot use a pronoun to replace the word God. God is a noun and a pronoun. So I will refrain from speaking of God using the pronoun he, she, or it. Just God. Secondly, there is no such concept as your God and my God. My God is the only one true God, and your God is a figment of your imagination or a chapter out of a myth. No such thing. There is only one God that created this entire universe. So God is universal. God, to me, is energy, and God has always been and will always be. God is a creator. God cannot be created or destroyed, but God created every being and every non-living entity that exists in this universe. God is great and vast. God is omnipresent, and God is all-knowing. So what about our relationship with God? This is one of those very important perceptions that when I reconstructed in myself, I found that I could live life more courageously and with universal love in my heart. So, what is my perception about God? This is what this video is all about. Yeah, so like what I said, God is an energy. God cannot be created or destroyed. God has always been, God is, and God will always be. There is no beginning or end to God. God is pure consciousness, which means that God knows everything. God knows our pain and suffering. And this is why when we pray, we don't need to cry out to make God know our pain and suffering, and therefore, God would take your pain and suffering into processing and offer you a resolution. God is all knowing, always knowing, because God is pure consciousness, and God is also vast and great. Okay, and arising from this understanding of God, that God is energy, an indestructible energy that we cannot create, we know that God is the ultimate creator of everything. So God is formless, and God exists in all that God created. Therefore, God is pervasive and omnipresent. God is existent in everything. So this way God can regulate and be conscious of everything that is going on. God has created everything for every creation of His to be able to sustain life. God is the seed and the root of life itself. God is life. God is an energy. And since God is pervasive and existent in all of its creation, God exists in us, in you and I. So, in other words, you and I are an instance of God. This makes us too, in a sense, limitless, and we are co-creators of our own life. But we are also a small instance of God. God is vast and great, and therefore we are small. Each of us is very small in comparison to God. And this is why we need to have the character quality, humility at all times. We need to remind ourselves that we are really small in comparison to God. Therefore, we have to be humble, which brings us to life in the physical form. Okay, so you and I are an instance of God, meaning deep down inside us, we are energy, which is the life force that keeps us breathing and existing. But beyond that, we each think we are discrete because of this physical body, which is our existence as matter, right? So, due to our existence as a physical body, a matter, we need to engage in certain pursuits in our life, and there we arrive at the 8 pillars of life, the key results areas. However, when we pursue each of these 8 pillars, if we do not pursue it correctly with the consciousness that we are but a small instance of God, that we are actually energy, a life form that is breathing, then we may get so carried away in the pursuit of any one of the 8 pillars that we invite pain and suffering into our lives, and we become weak, and sometimes we break down under the pressure, under the duress of pain and suffering, because our pursuit is not guided by the purpose, the true purpose of our life. So what is the true purpose of this life? The true purpose of this life is to go from day to day and event to event until we eventually achieve God realization. What is God realization? God realization is knowing and understanding and living every moment of life with the awareness that we are nothing but a small instance of God. So what we want to do is to understand God completely and to conduct ourselves. When I say conduct ourselves, I mean we must learn how to think, how to feel, how to act, and how to speak in a manner that is congruent with the principles that is God. Yes, God has created this universe to operate according to certain principles, and we when we learn how to conduct ourselves in congruence with these universal principles, we then become more like God. And when we become more like God, we are able to transcend suffering and pain in life. Suffering and pain is optional. Challenges, however, are not. They are inevitable. Life is full of challenges, but we don't have to break under the duress of these challenges if we conduct ourselves correctly, guided by the principles of God. And this is the true meaning of life, the right perception about God, I think, because when I changed my perception about God to be attuned to these attributes of God that I just mentioned, my life became a source of joy and peace and gratitude and universal love, right? So I hope this video was useful in case any of you, like me, are at a phase in your life where you are seeking a correct perception about God, a correct understanding about God to guide your every thought, your every emotion, your every action and word, so that the pursuit of other goals across all the 8 pillars in life gives you true satisfaction and happiness without aligning your pursuit of goals across all of these 8 pillars with this true understanding of God's attributes, and without aligning your actions in the pursuit of these 8 key results in life with the pursuit of God. In other words, if your pursuit of these goals across 8 pillars of life are antagonistic to the pursuit of achieving God-like attributes, if it is antagonistic to living lives according to the universal principles of life, you will always find yourself with a feeling of fatigue and emptiness, and sometimes even disappointment. So if you like this video, please look out for more videos, because there will be a video every week sharing with you important information that I myself realized through journeying down a very challenging life and finally managing to strike a balance and live life in sheer fulfillment. Even though life is still very much full of challenges, I have begun to understand that I can transcend pain and suffering by choosing to live life with universal love. And as a result of this choice, I have joy, peace, and gratitude in my life for all the wonderful things that I am able to savor moment to moment. So look out for more videos like this every week. It's been wonderful sharing this with you, and thank you for watching. Bye bye. See you again next week.